What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fuzzy Fitness. So let's start this video with the mutant Nick Walker, who right now seems like the biggest underdog leading into this year's Miss Olympia, especially for those guys who are gonna be in the first call out. Because another expert, who is also a bodybuilding legend, Sean Ray also had this opinion on Bob Shigarello's YouTube channel, which is the voice of bodybuilding, that Nick is gonna be fighting really hard for that 5th spot if all these guys come in at 100%.
Fifth place spot that we're talking about, Nick would be fighting and struggling to get in there, especially if Martin Fitzwater comes in even better than he was at the New York Pro. Makes it interesting.
I agree with you.
Now, on the other hand, Jay Cutler is of the view that Nick is gonna make a very strong comeback, stronger than ever, and he's gonna surprise everyone. So I really wonder, what must be going on in Nick Walker's mind after listening to all these opinions, especially when we are this close to the show. And keep in mind, this Olympia is gonna be his comeback Olympia, because he was unable to do the Olympia last year because of his hamstring tear, which by the way has completely healed, and it wasn't even noticeable at his last show, which was the New York Pro. So do let me know what is your opinion right now, less than 7 weeks out. Is Nick Walker gonna be fighting for the top 3, or is he gonna be fighting for that 5th spot? Now let's talk about Martin Fitzwater, because his updates also came out at 46 days out of this year's Miss Olympia. And keep in mind, this is gonna be his Olympia debut. But more important than those physique updates is the fact that he's being rated so damn high. Because even a guy like Sean Ray thinks that an improved version of Martin from the New York Pro has a legitimate shot at beating Nick Walker. And actually Martin thinks the same thing. And he himself seems so confident that he is gonna be a lot better than what we saw at this year's New York Pro. And we have to keep in mind the man was ripped to shreds at that show. He was absolutely peed out of his mind. So the question right now is that, how will a bigger, more aesthetic version of Martin will compare to a more muscular version of Nick Walker? Well, we will find out in 46 more days. But again, I have to say Nick Walker really has this opportunity to make one of the biggest comebacks in the bodybuilding sport and totally silence his critics. We have discussed this time and time again, that Nick won the New York Pro, but Martin got more praise because people were expecting Nick to wipe the floor with the whole competition there, to absolutely dominate that lineup, and that 1-point victory over Martin that actually decreased his stars as a Miss Olympia title contender. So Martin thinks that it is gonna be neck and neck once again with him and Nick Walker in less than 7 weeks time. So Nick Walker has got a lot to prove this year, and to the naysayers, and let's just hope that he shows up at his all-time best and takes everyone by surprise, because that will be such a big deal, and that will be such a treat for us bodybuilding fans. Next up, we have an update from Andrew Jacked, the undisputed 3 times Texas Pro champion. So back in the gym working on bringing a better back to this Mr. Olympia stage in 46 days. So who is gonna beat Andrew Jacked in those first 2 shots? The front double biceps and the front lat spread. And we can throw in front relaxed in there as well. He has that tall, wide frame with some of the best aesthetics in the current era of bodybuilding, or in the history of bodybuilding for that matter. And there is a mutual consensus on one thing: Andrew's front shots, they are already Miss Olympia worthy. So people even used to say that when he won Texas Pro last year. And we have to keep in mind, this is a super-sized version of Andrew, especially in comparison to what we saw in 2023. So just a few more weeks till Andrew flies out to the US and joins Chris Lewis aka Psycho Fitness and go through those final workouts, final few weeks before this year's Miss Olympia with him. And do not forget that Andrew has that same team that helped Sean Roden win the Olympia back in 2018, when everyone thought that Phil Heath was just untouchable. So Asito and Psycho Fitness have been working with Andrew Jacked for almost 2 years now, and Andrew just shocked everyone with his new physique at this year's Texas Pro. And that was his first real off-season ever since he won his pro card back in 2022. So I believe if he continues to improve on this pace, he will eventually become Miss Olympia, possibly next year. But make no mistake, he is coming for those top 3 spots this year. Next up is the 6.5 weeks out physique update of Jon Jewett. And I have to say it is kinda funny how the caption says he's considering pulling back some food to start the dieting process. I mean, the guy has more detail on his back at 6.5 weeks out of the show than what some other competitors have on the day of the show. That is how ripped the man is right now. So how quickly Jon has been able to make progress after switching from 212 to the men's open bodybuilding. That is just ridiculously insane. Now he himself also knows that he is up against very tough competition this time. Most guys at the Olympia are bigger and possibly more athletic than him as well. But he also knows that only a few guys can touch him in that conditioning department. So looking at the physique that he brought at this year's Van Pro stage, that showed that he won and secured his Olympia qualification for this year, we can gladly say that it is so great that he switched over to the men's open class. Now he might have been top 10 in the 212 class, for years in fact. He was top 10 in 221 as well, but he could have never achieved this level of muscularity by staying in a smaller division. Now for the record, John was 9th in 221, beating Tony Burton, who also switched to the men's open bodybuilding after that Olympia. So do let me know what you guys think. How high can John Jewett place at his Olympia debut in the men's open? Next up is the physique update of John De La Rosa, your Tampa Pro winner, finally going back to the Olympia for the first time since 2019. So John was on really low food for 6 weeks straight, heading into Tampa Pro this year, and his superior conditioning over FODA became a deciding factor for his win there. And I have to say, John has such a motivating story. He had those injuries that hindered him from competing in the last few years, but the man just never gave up. If I'm not mistaken, he is 40 years old, with a 10 years plus pro career, and also making improvements at this stage of your career. That is really hard. But the man has been defying all the odds for the last 2 years, ever since he started working with Patrick Tuor. So John had very good size and muscularity throughout his career, but he was never able to figure out how to get truly peeled. So in the past he has worked with some great coaches, like Chris Aceto, Neil Hill, but he never looked this good, as he does now, after he started working with Patrick Tuor. So where John is gonna land at this year's Mr. Olympia, that will come down to how those guys in the second Olympia call-out show up. Because if some of those guys leave the European and not bring the conditioning, then John will definitely slide past them. Next up we have a 4.5 weeks old physique update of Brett Wilkin, the Butcher. So he is prepping for the Legion Sports, aiming to get his Olympia qualification for 225. So this is easily the most impressive update that we have seen from him so far. So out of all the shows that Brett did after Chicago Pro 221, which I believe was his pro debut, there was only one time where Brett wasn't in a great shape, and that was the Orange Classic 222, where they tried to come in really big and full as a house, and really heavy, and that kinda backfired. So if we go by his track record, I believe he is gonna be on. He is gonna come in absolutely shredded at this upcoming show. Now if Brett is able to win this show, he will be the first one to qualify for the Olympia 225, allowing him more time than anyone else to make progress for the Olympia next year. And if you guys think about it, it will actually be a repeat of 2022, when Brett won the Big Man Weekend 2 weeks prior to the Olympia and qualified for the Olympia 2023. But unfortunately that Olympia debut did not happen because of some health problems. So talking about Legion Sports, we are still waiting for a confirmation from Patrick Moore, because rumor is that he's also doing the Legion Sports. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.